Welcome, everyone. I'm vegan empowerment coach Mariquita Solis, and I'm joined today by Bharat from the vegan community team. We're so glad to welcome you to today's session, Decoding Dairy, Health Risks and Ethical Wrongs. This important conversation is part of our continued mission to bring forth truth, compassion, and empowerment through conscious choices. In this eye-opening session, we'll take a closer look at the widespread myths around dairy, from the belief that milk builds strong bones to the idea that it's essential for children's growth or heart health. You'll hear from two powerful voices who've dedicated their lives to health education and animal advocacy as they unpack the science behind these claims. We'll also explore the deeper ethical implications of dairy production, including the often ignored exploitation of cows in the industry. This session invites us to look beyond marketing and tradition and towards choices rooted in evidence, compassion, and integrity. Together, we'll reflect on the health risks of dairy and the myths that have shaped public perception, the ethical concerns behind dairy production and consumption, the power of informed, plant-based choices in creating a more compassionate world. Founding Heroes at the Vegan Community is where we're building a space where everyday vegans grow into confident communicators, collaborative leaders, and resilient visionaries, supported by peer groups, mentorship, and mission-aligned partnerships. We're now inviting 200 founding heroes to help co-create this movement where passion fuels progress, vegan voices rise, and collective action drives change for animals, the natural world, and our shared future. As a founding hero, you'll have a chance to grow your visibility as a trusted vegan voice and connect with more clients, customers, or collaborators who share your values. You'll also get lifetime access to a platform that helps you share your message, grow your vegan business, and collaborate with aligned change makers around the world. And so we're going to put the link in the chat to learn more. Bharat will be doing that right now. So thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Mariquita Solis, and I want to introduce to you our two incredible guests for today's conversation. Michael A. Klaper, MD, is a graduate of the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago. He's practiced acute care medicine in Hawaii, Canada, California, Florida, and New Zealand. And for the past 35 years, he has been focusing upon health-promoting food and lifestyle choices to help prevent the need for hospitalization and surgery. Through his website, movingmedicineforward.org, visitors can find updates on his latest teaching activities, subscribe to his free newsletter, The Forward Report, and support his Moving Medicine Forward initiative to promote the teaching of applied nutrition in medical schools. And today we're also joined with my beautiful, amazing friend, Linda Middlesworth. Linda is a certified Food for Life instructor and expert in whole food, plant-based living. She creates spaces where people can explore lifestyle change without guilt or pressure. So we're going to be taking questions at the end of the session. Now, please put your questions in the chat. Go ahead and do that right now. And we're going to do our best to get to as many questions as possible. And I just want to be upfront. We might not get to them all. We want to, but we only have a certain amount of time. So go ahead and get those questions in the chat. And I'm going to hand this over to you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Mariquita, and thank you for all your wonderful work as an empowerment coach. She is like unstoppable and unbelievable in her actions. So thank you for that. And I'm so excited to have you, Dr. Michael Klaper, one of my heroes in the whole field of this health aspect and also the ethical aspect. And I love the fact that we're going over the dairy industry and what dairy does for the human body or what it doesn't do, because I know there are a lot of issues with dairy and humans. So with that, I would like to start asking you some questions, and feel free to add whatever you like so people can understand as best as possible. So one question I started with now 37 and a half years ago when I became a plant-based and a vegan. They're different from each other. A vegan means do no harm. Plant-based means you don't eat animal products. So I am both a vegan and a plant-based eater. So, well, back then, I thought you had to have dairy for bones strength. I thought my bones would crumble, and I was so happy to eat the dairy because I was highly addicted. I couldn't walk by the refrigerator without eating it. I had to have a piece of cheese, a bowl of ice cream, or something constantly. So I'd like you to address um, the bone issue. What is that? I thought there is calcium in dairy, right?
There is indeed. And Linda, thank you, by the way, for the opportunity to join you today and address your audience and on this very important subject. And in your question are some very profound aspects to this whole issue regarding the issue of calcium and bone health and the strong pull that the dairy products in the refrigerator had upon you that made you keep eating it. And so we have to step way back here and talk about some bone physiology. Yes, calcium is needed to grow and maintain strong bones. That's true. However, where does the calcium come from, and where can we humans get it? Um, the and we start with the primary fact that the dairy industry has been masterful in implanting that concept in people's minds that um, ca- bones need calcium. Calcium is in dairy, therefore dairy is needed for strong bones. And since childhood, since the posters on the wall in grammar school, in on the TV on the billboards as you drive on the TV ads, this connection is made, and the idea that there are other sources of calcium never mentioned. Well, let's bring the professor of biology in here for a minute. Simple biological fact: cows don't drink milk. Okay? Where do they get all that calcium? To put in their secretions there. Okay, adult cows don't drink milk. And and all these other powerful animals, gorillas and buffaloes and elephants with these massive bones, don't drink milk. Um, where is the calcium coming from? Well, calcium, of course, is an element found in the soils in the Earth's crust, and it's taken up by green plants. And that's where the calcium really comes from. The cows are grazing on greens all day, and in doing so, they're taking in their calcium from the foods that they eat. And of course, that opens the door to our human choices, and we can do the same thing, and is indeed encouraged to have one or two helpings of dark green leafy vegetables every day for so many reasons, all the antioxidants and the phytonutrients and the magnesium and the potassium, but also there's calcium in the kale and in the broccoli and the greens there. And it's a major source for us to as plant eaters to take advantage of. But there's calcium in other foods as well. It's in nuts and seeds. It's in tahini butter. It's in whole grains have calcium. Many nuts and seeds have calcium. Um, and nowadays, there's even fortified, calcium added to everything from soy milk to these veggie cheeses, etc. It's easy to get a sufficient amount of calcium to keep your bones healthy. Now we're told, so how much do you need? Um, the reality is, when they look at just basic metabolism and survival, that most humans, they'll do okay on 200 milligrams of calcium a day. The Europeans have doubled that up to a little more than that. I think they're up to 500 milligrams of calcium a day. And that's in the UK. I think the rest of the EU is a 700. We're Americans, so if a little is good, more must be better, right? So we're up 1,000 milligrams a day. No one really needs 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day. And there are issues because that number is what people want to strive for. And in doing so, they start reaching for that jar of calcium supplements. And oh, well, there are 500 milligrams in each one of these calcium supplements. I'll just pop 2 of those, got my 1,000 milligrams. Well, in the body, you can't do one thing. I'm just taking calcium to make my bones strong. That's what you think you're doing. But you're also setting off cascades of reactions in hundreds of enzyme systems that you're not even thinking about, one of which is that calcium is needed for blood clotting. And you take a 500 milligram or a 750 milligram tablet of calcium supplement, that's absorbed in your bloodstream for the next hours. You are hypercalcemic, and that puts you at risk for blood clotting. And indeed, there's been studies showing that people consuming these high dose calcium supplements have a higher risk of sudden death, and it's probably from the blood clotting. So if you are going to be using any supplements at all, check the bottle. And if there's any calcium there, there should at a maximum 200 milligrams or less is fine. Get your calcium from the greens and the nuts and the seeds and the supplement and the supplemented soy products, et cetera, et cetera. But this also lands us in the swamp of, well, keeping bones strong means getting enough calcium. Well, that's, again, the dairy industry has kind of focused our attention on that. But bones are complex living tissues, and they require more than just calcium to be strong. They require, like all living tissues, like your skin, your muscles, your brain. Now, they require protein, they require vitamins and minerals, and most importantly, they require use, they require stress upon them. You got to show your bones you love them by using them. And by that, I mean, in our bones, we have little cells called osteoblasts that will spin out new bone substance to make our bones stronger. What will prompt the osteoblast to spin out new bone? Mechanical forces that stress the bone. Well, what kind of mechanical forces? Well, in the old days, before computers and our sedentary lifestyle, we were active people. We spent all day outside being physical, man. We were gathering firewood. We were carrying loads on our shoulders, slinging bales of hay, working in the garden, carrying heavy buckets of soil, using heavy rakes and hoes. And every one of these actions puts a little mechanical torque on your bones, and that prompts the osteoblast to spin out new bone. And osteoporosis wasn't an issue on the Kentucky frontier in the 1840s. Um, but welcome to the 21st century. We are now so sedentary. We sit when we eat, we sit when we travel, we sit when we work, we sit when we recreate, we sit when we watch the TV and get depressed. We sit, we become sedentary. And the bones are thinking, well, they're not using us. Let's split, man. And so the bone substance starts dissolving, and that's the real driving force behind osteoporosis. It's not a calcium deficiency. And it's been shown taking calcium tablets does not make your bones stronger, does not reverse osteoporosis. Drinking milk does not make your bones stronger, does not reverse osteoporosis. What reverses osteoporosis is using your bones against gravity, against stress of some sort. What do I mean by that? Again, if you're not out slinging hay bales and carrying heavy buckets, um, then find some way to stress your bones. And that can be as simple as these elastic resistance bands that you can hook around your feet and do curls. And there's all sorts of regimens that you can do with that. Taking a 3-pound hand weight or a 5-pound hand weight and go for a nice walk. And there's 1,000 steps in a mile. Walk a mile with a 3-pound hand weight, with a 1-foot excursion every time you walk. By the end of that mile, you've lifted 3 pounds 1,000 feet in the air, man. And those repetitive stresses have sent that message to your osteoblast to wake up. Getting one of these light weighted vests, a 6-pound weighted vest, and go for a walk. Every step you take, a little wild weight goes down your spine and down your hips, down your legs, and that strengthens your spine, your femurs. Really has been shown to help reverse osteoporosis. Yes, you need some vitamin D. Best way to do it is go out for a walk, take that 1 mile walk out in the sunshine and get some natural sunlight on your skin. That's the best. But if not, then take enough vitamin D to keep your level over 30
Oh, thank,
grams per liter.
thank you. I
Um,
have the hardest time getting people to exercise,
oh,
but I
just
like
go out
that
for a
walking
walk
with
with
weights
them.
would be good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just go out for a walk. So I'm going, it's a long question. I'll wrap it up here. But if you love your bones and want to keep them strong, use them. Do something to, never miss a chance to walk upstairs, to carry packages, to find a place to be physical in the slightest way will help. And these long walks are certainly sources of repetitive strain on the skeleton that's beneficial. It's just like your muscles. The more you use your muscles, the stronger they get. Well, the bones are attached to muscles. So the more you use your bones, the stronger they'll get. But don't fall for the dairy industry's calcium in cows, and you gotta consume these products. And finally, wrapping it up, as Dr. Neil Barnard reminds us, there's in dairy products there are these substances, casomorphones, that turn into morphine-like substances that are really addictive. And that yogurt calls to you, and those dairy products call to you because you feel good an hour after you eat them because of what's done to your brain chemistry. But again, it's a chemical high. It's not because it's done really anything good for you nutritionally. So it's baby calf growth fluid. I tell people, go in the mirror, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror. Do you have big ears? You got a big snout with whiskers? Are you a baby calf? If you are, cool, enjoy your yogurt and your ice cream. If you're not a baby calf, don't be drinking baby calf growth fluid. There's nothing in it you need and a whole lot you don't need. So get
Yeah.
your calcium where same place cows get their calcium out of the greens.
And they're also, T. Colin Campbell said it's the most powerful carcinogen we have is dairy.
Yes, he did some very powerful studies on rats back in the 1980s and 90s and found out that if they were developing cancers in their liver, if you gave them casein of primary protein in cow's milk, ooh, boy, those liver cancers really grew. And when he pulled the casein out, they stopped growing, and it seems to have certainly cancer promoting properties to it. That's another story, but who needs? If you're a woman with a breast lump or a guy with a big prostate with some malignant cells in there, who wants to be eating stuff that's going to maybe make those cells grow? So all the way around, leave it for the baby calves.
I'm pretty sure that's why I had cancer because I ate dairy of some sort, cheese, so much cheese, nonstop. And more than anything, other food. So I think that's why I had my thyroid cancer. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was the reason. But also, there are so many other diseases like asthma, diabetes, it's a whole myriad of things that dairy promotes in the human body, correct?
Absolutely. And when I have a patient with as you mentioned, with asthma, with eczema, with bowel complaints, I look at their 3-day food diary, and boy, if I see dairy in there, that's the first thing that goes. And often that's the end of their asthma, that's the end of their eczema, and their bowels settle right down. They had a low-grade lactose deficiency. So absolutely, dairy is problematic for not just for the calcium issue, but for the proteins, etc. Yes.
Also, the fact that people now think raw milk is so nutritious. I have so many people say, but Linda, raw milk is good for you. But we have
If
a
you
threat of bird flu by the way, with raw milk. Bird flu is the great risk for the workers who work in the raw milk. They're getting actual bird flu and that could be our next pandemic, which would make COVID look like a walk in the park.
Absolutely. Boy, talk about another marketing, should I say hoax? I don't know, that word's become so loaded. But really, what are we saying here? That the milk of a cow, fresh out of her udder, is more beneficial than after it's been pasteurized, which they heated to destroy the bacteria that may be in it. Um, First of all, and we haven't touched on the ethics here, but raw milk or not, that dairyman, as soon as that, he impregnated the cow, she carried that calf for 9 months, gave birth to that 65-pound calf, began to nuzzle it and nurse it, and he came by and snatched that calf away, and is now sucking the milk off her udders. That's inherent in every bucket of raw milk, any kind of milk. There's that inherent cruelty of stealing a baby away from its mother. And for fates unknown, if it's a boy calf, it goes in the veal pen. If it's a girl calf, it goes on the merry-go-round of death of the four-legged milk pump. But again, there's that inherent cruelty. The raw milk's got this image of more wholesome, whatever, but there's still that dreadful act inherent in all dairy products. But let's look at that bucket of raw milk. Are true, well, are there possible problems? Absolutely. First of all, they seldom skim it or whatever. It's a the cream is still in it. It's a high fat substance, which is great for the baby calf, but not for your cholesterol level. The saturated fat will raise your LDL levels, and saturated fats are pro-inflammatory. And so right away, you don't want to be consuming that. Um, there's protein if the milk came from Holstein cows, the big black and white cows, they have a type of casein protein called casein A1 that gives some people digestive problems and all sorts of gas and cramps when they consume it. Of course, it's milk and it's going to have lactose sugar in it. And if you happen to be lactose intolerant, if you don't have that enzyme to split lactose, boy, you're going to have cramps and diarrhea. You're going to be really unhappy when you consume it raw or not. And those cows, just because it's raw milk, where have those cows been grazing? Has the pasture been sprayed with herbicides or pesticides in the past? Where's the water that they're drinking? Are they downstream from some chemical plant? You don't really know, just because it's raw milk, what those cows have been eating and drinking. And and then finally, to focus in on the raw issue that it's not pasteurized, it's certainly not sterile stuff. There's bacteria in all raw milk. On the cow's udders, there's going to be staphylococcus and other types of skin bacteria that are going to find their way into the milk. Um, Almost all cows, they lay on their udders. There's low-grade infections of the breast tissue of the udder. They have mastitis. So the enterococcus and the salmonella and the shigella gets into the milk. And there it is in the milk there. And then, so right away, has bacterial contamination. And then you don't know the farm hands that are actually handling it. You don't know if any of them drop their sunglasses into the bucket or whatever. There's lots of places where contamination can happen along the way. It's not a carefully monitored process. Uh, and um, and so when you consume these substances, you're going to be more likely to have encounters with these bacteria, many of which are not friendly if they cause diarrhea, etc. And then if you want to use this raw milk to make kefir or yogurt, and you already have pathogen, you already have enterococcus and salmonella in there, and now you put it in this incubator it's nice and warm to promote bacterial fermentation. Well, you're also promoting the growth of these pathogens in there. So you look at the kefir and the yogurt, what are you really eating, and what are we gaining from this? And I think the risk factor is certainly higher than with pasteurized milk. And pasteurized milk is not gentle. It breaks up proteins, etc. It kills bacteria. Your flash sterilizing the milk, you're heating it up to 150 degrees for a minute or so, and then dropping it down. And it damages the milk. But that's all the more point. What are we drinking this stuff in the first place? You have no more need for the milk of a cow than you do the milk of a giraffe. And there's so much more, many more wonderful products to pour on your cereal. All these wonderful plant milks. There's plant-based yogurts. There's plant-based cheeses, plant-based ice creams. What are we doing to keep this barbaric practice going for this substance that of very dubious benefit to us, and I think significant health risks as well.
Well, I became an animal rights activist on that very statement my neighbor told me. 1 week after I went plant-based, she said, "You know what happens to dairy cows?" And I said, "No, but I sure miss my cheese." And she said, "Well, when the baby's born, they take the baby away from the mother right after it's born, and they cry for each other." And I
Oh,
said, wait, stop. Look, I was 44 years old. I'm 81 now. And I said, wait, nobody told me this. What are you talking about? And I couldn't believe that I was 44 years old and didn't know one thing about this, because they keep it so hidden. They keep it so hidden that we don't know. We get the marketing, we hear the marketing that we need bone strength and all that, but we don't get the truth. And I said, okay, stop right there. I am now an animal rights activist. That was 1 week after starting to be plant-based, because that did it. And now I will forever be vegan, and I will forever be an animal rights activist, because I can't stand what we humans do to the dairy cows or any other animal we put into confinement and eat. It's absolutely all unnecessary. We don't need any animals, right, Dr. Klaper?
really? Let
To
me
eat it,
no,
have them.
let me elaborate on what you just said. That's such an important point. People just don't understand the truth of the dairy industry. The as you mentioned, the calf is taken away. I spent my first 14 summers on my uncle's dairy farm in northern Wisconsin. And the most painful memory I have in my audio files is the sound of a mother cow in the dairy barn, locked in a stanchion, with her newborn calf 10 yards away in the veal pen. And she would bellow hour after hour, the most heartbreaking, soul-tearing bellows after her baby, and the baby is moving and mawing back at her. And I asked my mother, what's going on there? Well, this is just part of dairying, and I didn't, and I had to just accept it. It went on for days. It still haunts me. And so, yes, there's that primordial injury there. But modern dairying, the cows are made pregnant again and again, 4, 5, 6 times in their lifespan. They carry these babies for 9 months, just like human mothers do. They give birth to a 65-pound baby. They start trying to love it, and it's taken away. But after 5 or 6 years of this, their milk production goes down. The dairy cows are considered spent, and they're a drain on the dairyman. I won't dignify them with the word farmer. They're dairymen, the dairy producers, and they're a drain on the dairy producers' bottom line if the cow's not giving much milk. So she's standing on a computerized scale, so the dairy producer knows exactly how much milk she's giving. And as that milk production starts going down, she's a waste of money. So he calls the truck from the slaughterhouse that comes, and they take her away, take her to the slaughterhouse. They shoot her in the head, they hang her up, cut her throat, drain her blood out, and strip the flesh off of her bones. Now, the flesh of dairy cows is not that appetizing in the meat case. So what do? They grind it up into ground beef. And where does it go? They sell it to the fast food industry. And just to complete the cycle in everybody's head, if you still go into McDonald's and you order a Big Mac, or you go into Burger King and you order a Whopper, by and large, what you are chomping into is ground up old dairy cows. Okay, that's the end of the line. And when people think of the dairy industry, well, you don't have to kill the cow, you just keep sucking the milk. No, that's not true. The dairy industry is a slaughter industry. The dairy barn is just a short stopping off place for a few years of calves and milk before the cow is shipped in and turned into ground beef. So indeed, the dairy industry is a slaughter industry. It has blood on its hands, the blood in that milk, and people should be aware of that. And they're contributing every time you buy a beef product, a ground beef product, on your taco or whatever, it's usually ground up old dairy cows. And
I
I'll
know.
contribute to that. Go
It's
ahead.
just horrifying to me. And I heard that hamburgers sometimes in like in the grocery store can come from different areas, like different countries, and be all thrown together to make one
Absolutely.
hamburger or a little package in the store. So you don't even
Absolutely.
know where this is coming from. You don't know how the animals were treated. And a lot of people just don't know that the dairy industry is the meat industry. It's the meat
Indeed.
industry, it's the slaughter
Absolutely.
industry. Mhm.
Absolutely.
So, um, so I- that's amazing that you were on a dairy farm for so long and had to
Yeah.
accept it. My dad was a milkman for years before he became an engineer. And so we had a lot of dairy, more than most people, because we had the freshest, best dairy in the neighborhood, right? And he used to give our neighbors more milk. And so, yeah, it's all a matter of conditioning. And like you said, the dairy industry is so good at marketing. I think a lot of people don't realize I have trouble trying to explain to them what happens to the little boys. Because
Oh,
I don't,
oh,
I know you've seen them, but I went to one of those veal farms where they have cages for miles, thousands of cages with one little boy in them at a time for veal. And he can't move. He can sit down and stand up. And one of them tried to suck my finger because he wanted to suckle so badly. You
sure.
know, I have nightmares on this
Sure.
one visit to that veal farm.
Sure. Sure. To expand on Linda's vision here, in order to keep the milk flowing, the dairy producer has to keep making the cows pregnant, keep inseminating them, and having them carry the baby for 9 months, and then out comes the baby. Well, biology says half of those babies are going to be girls and half of those babies are going to be boys. Um, the boy calf is of zero use to the dairy producer, right? He'll never give milk. So how can we turn it into money? Let's put him in a little crate, chain him by the neck so he can't walk around, so his muscles don't get red and strong. They stay weak and pale. Feed them iron-poor milk, so they don't get much pigmentation into their muscles. And let's keep them that way for 4 months, 5 months, and then let's shoot the calf in the head and cut its throat and sell its soft, pale flesh as milk-fed veal. Mmm, tender, delicious. Uh, and um, and if there's various type, bob veal is the newborn calf is bob veal, and it's creepy. But that's the fate of the little boy cows in the dairy industry. They're kept in the veal pen and killed and turned and slaughtered and turned into veal. And the mothers, the females, wind up four-legged milk pumps like their mother on that merry-go-round where the aspirators are just sucking the milk off her, and they develop mastitis and hoof infections. It's dismal. And as I mentioned, when I walked into the dairy barn at my uncle's farm, there was always this air of sadness hanging over the. I could feel it. I didn't understand why. And I showed you pictures. Occasionally, you'd see these big tears going down the cheeks of these cows. Now I realize these are all new mothers that have just had their babies taken away from them. Yeah, and they're through with their bellowing. They're depressed. They're sad. This hole has been ripped in their being there. Of course, if there's an air of sadness, you can feel it. They are feeling creatures, and dairy is so cruel. Despite the happy ice cream advertisements, it's a cruel, cruel product. And finally, if I'm can get in, it's a crime against the sisterhood. I'm an ardent feminist. I want to lift up all women in any way possible. But when I see what is perpetrated on women, oh, women, you might get osteoporosis. That's scary. That's that specter that's hanging over you. Well, then you got to have dairy, right? And and every time a woman takes that container of Greek yogurt or calcium fortified milk or whatever, just regular dairy products, cheese, whatever, and she pays for it. She's giving money to the dairy industry. Yes, impregnate another female cow. Yes, take another baby away from her. Yes, suck milk off of her month after month after month. Yes, when she's spent, take her to a slaughterhouse and shoot her in the head. Yep. And this is all crimes, if you will, transgressions against the female of the species, from the forced impregnation to eventual slaughter. And so I think it's a crime against the sisterhood. And so, of all people, I would urge people of the female persuasion, don't support the dairy industry. And these beautiful female creatures are suffering terribly because of it.
Mm. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the rape rack for the women, for
Aye.
the ladies. Yeah, for the ladies have a rape rack. They're on a rack that goes around in a circle and they rape them over and over again. Um, so yeah.
In the dairy barn you're talking about, or
Yeah, and the dairies, what after they get raped by that big gun, with the hand going inside. But
yeah,
it's on a
that,
rape rack where they're in a circle and it goes around and they shove it in and then
wow,
they do the
wow.
next. Yeah,
Wow, what in the
it's,
world
it's
they
a
had?
faster process for raping
Yeah,
them.
wow. I didn't realize it was on that level because you've got to get the cow uh, when she's fertile. But again, we on our dairy farm in Wisconsin, we had 49 cows. Today's modern dairy operations, they're milking 1,000, 2,000 cows at a time. And yes, there's probably dozens and dozens that are in heat that are fertile at the same time. And when I saw people that when we had a cow that was fertile, we would call the man from Badger Breeders. He'd come out, and well, let's be honest here. What we would see, we would lock the cow up in the stanchions, which you couldn't move. He would come up behind her, put a big long rubber glove up, a gauntlet all the way up to his shoulder, lubricated, and thrust his hand into the animal's rectum, into her rectum, and big long rectum she's got. And through the front wall of the rectum, he could feel her cervix, the opening to her wound, and he would grab it and stabilize it. Then with his left hand, he'd reach down and pull out this long tube of bull semen, and he would slide that up into her vagina and slide that up into her long vagina, and manipulating it with the rectal hand, they're able to get the opening of the semen tube directly into the cervix. And then he would squeeze the rubber bulb at the end of the tube there, and then a squirt of semen would come out. And then he would pull the glass tube out, and then he would pull his hand out. But that's how, to me, this is artificial insemination. This is how it's done. Now, I hadn't realized it was so automated like that. My God, how do they, because that's a bit of an artistry shot there to get the bull semen into the cervix there. But I could see that they may well have a slowly rotating apparatus there. Money, money, money. It's all a matter of money.
All
And
about money. And they hide these whole systems. You don't see them. We don't take our children to dairy farms. We don't.
oh, they don't want you there. Oh, they don't want you there. And if you pull out a camera, ooh, you'll,
Yeah. I was
yeah,
making a film. I was trying to make a film about 11, 12 years ago. And I took a big tour. And I had an animal compassion tour on the side of a cow kissing me was the logo. But I would take it off as we reached the dairy farm or the meat farm. And then we'd go inside and we would film. They said I said we were foodies and we wanted to know where our food came from. And they allowed us into the dairy farm. And then the mothers were trying to kick off that metal machine on their swollen red breasts. they had mastitis and they were trying to kick them off the whole time they were being milked. And we got all that great footage. And then we went to Harris Beef Farm and they knew we were coming somehow. And they didn't believe us and they arrested 3 of my people and the film ended right there. But anyway, so I was trying to get it on record. So it
Well,
is
you
just like it's so hidden. They don't want it's
no,
they don't want it's anywhere near what's happening.
absolutely. The bright
Can't
light
get
of
in.
truth. They don't, the too bright a light. You mentioned mastitis. Well, let me enlarge upon that and how that turns around and bites us. You betcha, these cows get breast infections from the constant sucking from the aspirating machine. But they've got big swollen udders that they lay down on at night, and bacteria get ground in there, and so they wind up with these red, swollen, infected udders. And so what does the dairy producer do? He comes around and takes a big long needle, a big blunt 14 gauge needle attached to a syringe full of penicillin, and he rams it up her tit, rams it right up into the udder, and squirts it up there a bizarre way to give antibiotics to a creature with mastitis, and also just injecting it into the animal itself, into the infected udder. And I'm told at the end of when she's through with her milking season and is drying up, where they've taken the calf and she's gone through a few months of giving milk, she's drying up, they give her another big shot of antibiotics to clear out any residual infection. Why am I telling you this? Well, these are potent antibiotics. This is lincomycin, tetracycline, and residues of these antibiotics wind up in the milk. Why is that an issue? Because humans drink that milk with the lincomycin and the tetracycline in it. These antibiotics are still active, and they go down into your intestine. And what do? They kill bacteria. That's what they're designed to do. So they go into your microbiome and start killing off your bacteria. But which ones will they kill off? Well, of course, they'll kill off the bacteria in your gut that are susceptible to the lincomycin, tetracycline, etc. So which ones won't get killed off? The antibiotic resistance ones. So they wind up selecting out a population of antibiotic resistant bacteria in your own gut.
Mm.
Well, it's one thing to have them in your gut and they may give you diarrhea, etc. But if your immune system goes down, if those bacteria find their way into your bloodstream or into your urinary tract, and the doctor needs to give you antibiotics, the report comes back from microbiology lab, resistant, 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 resistant. We're spawning these antibiotic resistant microbes. You can't do one thing, and we're just giving antibiotics to cure mastitis. That's what you think you're doing, dairyman. Yeah, but the truth is, you're setting off this chain of events that really adversely affects your customers and the rest of the world.
That is scary. That is so scary. Um, so we have questions for you, and
Yes.
thank you so much for explaining so much. It really is powerful, and we all need to know this, and we need to spread the word. Okay, please, everyone. So, Mariquita, do we have some questions, right?
Yes, let me get everything ready here. We also wanted to give a general reminder about becoming a founding hero. It amplifies our impact, and your support enables us to unite the vegan world, empower ambassadors, and inspire change. Together, we can create a future where every vegan is empowered, fulfilled, and planting seeds of hope and curiosity. So you can get more details at thevegancommunity.com. Become a founding hero, or drop a note to Peter G at thevegancommunity.com. You can find everything on that website. Let me go ahead. I've got some questions here. The first one is, and thank you for that beautiful presentation. All right. Does synthesized casein protein have the same carcinogenic risks as casein from dairy? It's from Jan.
Does which protein, I missed the beginning part of the question, does which protein have the same carcinogenic effect? which
Synthesized casein protein.
synthesize casein. They're synthesizing casein protein. Now, why in the world are they doing that? Um, the answer is, yeah, it's a new subject to me. I don't know. I suspect it certainly would. I suspect if it's really true casein, molecule for atom, even though it's synthetic, yes, it would still have the same effect in the body and in a living system. But I have not seen studies where they've actually done it in mice or in people or whatever. But I suspect so. We don't need to be consuming casein for any reason. That's another good
Yeah,
reason
that's
not.
terrible. All right, the next question I have is, in the dairy case, I see A2 dairy claims to be easier on digestion. What is A2 and is their claim true?
Okay, in the all milk has casein in it, and it's a protein. Like all proteins, it's a chain of amino acids. And it turns out that the milk that is produced by the big black and white Holstein cows, they have their casein is casein A1, and at position 67, I think they have a histidine amino acid instead of a proline. And the effect of this is when the enzymes, when you consume it, and your digestive enzymes come in and break apart the casein as part of digestion. This histidine molecule creates a byproduct that in some people can cause real severe digestive symptoms. They get cramps and bloating and diarrhea, similar to lactose intolerance. They get similar effects. Well, it turns out that the milk from the smaller brown Guernsey cows, and we had both on our farm, they produce a casein that does not have that proline histidine interchange there. And when casein is digested from these cows, it doesn't produce that byproduct that causes these symptoms. But now this is only in a certain group of people will react to this. Only about 10%, 20% of people are sensitive at all to any of this stuff. But if you are one of those people, you're better off consuming A2 milk than A1. But no one needs to be consuming this. It's baby calf growth fluid. And seriously, if you're a woman with a breast lump, or you've got uterine fibroids, this milk is full of estrogen. These cows are pregnant in the dairy. It didn't used to be that way. Now, when the cows on my uncle's farm when we would pregnate them, their milk production would dry up. And my uncle would just say, well, Bossina 17 won't have her calf won't give milk until she has her calf in the spring. And we only had 49 cows, and that's just the way it was. But in today's dairy operations with 1,000 cows, they can't afford to have their best milkers go offline for 9 months while they're carrying their next calf. So they've genetically modified the dairy cows. And to the American dairy herd and the European dairy herd have been genetically modified. So they will give milk even though they're pregnant with their next calf, all the way through the next pregnancy. Now they're given milk. So they're sucking milk off these large pregnant bovines. Well, it's full of estrogens, it's full of growth promoters, and it suppresses testosterone in boys. It raises estradiol levels in women. And fans the growth of breast lumps. If you've got uterine fibroids, makes you bleed more. And if you've already have a breast cancer and you're consuming baby calf growth fluid with all these estrogens, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. And the same thing with guys with prostate issues. Estrogens make the prostate gland unstable. The more dairy a boy eats, the higher his risk of prostate cancer when he's an adult man. Estrogens are that unfriendly to the prostate. So all the way around, it's baby calf growth fluid. Leave it for the baby calves. There's nothing in it we humans need. And so whatever that question was originally there, I hope that transgression shine more light on it.
Thank you. All right, so please put your questions in the chat and I'll be reading them. So the next question I have is, what brand vitamin D and vitamin B12 do you recommend?
Oh my, they're all, I think, pretty decent, and I don't have any brand recommendations at this point. Pick one that you'll actually take. Some people just can't stand the pills; they prefer the liquid to drop on your tongue. That's great. B12, they've got the little micro dots that you put under your tongue and dissolve you sublingual micro. Find the one that you'll actually take it for 90 days, and then get your level of B12 checked or your level of vitamin D checked and see if that product was doing what you wanted to do, keeping your B12 level well over 400 or 500 and keeping your vitamin D level well over, I like it between 40 and 70. So see if it's doing that for you. If not, change the dose or change the brand. But there's so many brands on the market. I'm reticent to give you a recommendation.
Okay. What are the 3 most powerful questions to ignite curiosity with pre-vegans?
Oh my. Um, are you still consuming dairy products? And uh, do you know the reality of where they come from? There's 2 good ones. And pre-vegans. Do you have any concerns for animals in the meat industry's production line? Does it make any difference to you at all? If it, I don't care, no, never think about them. Well, fair enough. I'll find out. But most people, well, yeah, I don't want do. Is cruelty to animals a concern for you? And those 3 would probably get some conversations going, I suspect.
Okay. And another question is a multivitamin, does that take care of the B12 and the vitamin D?
It certainly should, and there's some good vegan multivitamins on the market these days, and I'm glad to see that they've really toned down. When I was a kid and a young man, high potency multivitamins, and they would give these mega doses of vitamin A and vitamin B6, and we're now realizing that more is not better, and again, you can't do one thing, and vitamin A increases the risk of lung cancer in smokers, and so they've really reduced the amount of these vitamins to the bare minimums. And but people are eating irregularly these days. Modern life is not friendly to sane, stable eating. If it is for you, you're a lucky person. So those of us who are on the road, eat in restaurants, uh, stay up late, whatever, and don't eat regularly, yeah, so I think a vegan multivitamin makes sense. What should you see on that label? You should see vitamin B12 up between 200 micrograms. You should see zinc 10 to 15 milligrams. You should probably see copper 2 milligrams. Um, you should see iodine 150 micrograms. And vitamin D, I would say at least 2,000 international units. That would be a good multivitamin. And you want to throw in a little vitamin B6, perhaps. You shouldn't need it. You get that out of your salads. But those are the 5 nutrients that are in plant-based foods. But you got to make sure your diet is really balanced and consistent, etc. Yeah, modern life doesn't lend itself to that, so it's easier to take a multivitamin. But maybe just 3 times a week is all you might need. So, pick a regimen, do it for 90 days, and then get your blood level checked and see what that regimen is doing for you.
Thank you. All right. I guess we have a couple more questions here. What studies do you recommend showing dairy is scary?
Well, nowadays, get on ChatGPT and just say, delineate, please cite with footnoted references the studies showing harmful constituents in dairy products. And ChatGPT will spit out 3, 4, 5 of them for you, some good ones. And the more you hone down on your prompts, the more you're going to get from it. So yeah, it's a smorgasbord of studies these days,
Perfect. All
unfortunately.
right. Yeah, that's very true. So let me looks like we can do one more question. What is the best film to recommend about cheese and eggs and animal cruelty?
Oh my. Boy, good one. I saw a good one in New Zealand, the reality of the dairy industry.
Cowspiracy, cowspiracy.
So, yeah, Cowspiracy would be a good one to start with. Yeah, go Cowspiracy. And
Okay.
yeah, I think you do well there.
All right. Well, let me get one more question. We've got one more. Why is dairy key for being promoted by food scientists as a healthy product for gut health when dairy is detrimental to gut health and overall health?
The famous author Upton Sinclair said it is difficult to convince a man of scientific truth when his paycheck depends upon him not seeing it. And here are these scientists that they don't want to hear that it's harmful. They're getting paid by the dairy industry to show all the good things in milk. So
Yeah.
this group is not the one to look for when it comes to truth about dairy products.
Yes, that's for sure. All right. See that we're
I'd
coming
like
to
to
the end.
say, I'd like to
Yeah.
say one thing, Mariquita.
Go ahead.
I'm working with a group, and I hope Dr. Klaper is too, called Plant-Based Treaty. And we're trying to
Mm.
get governments to go adopt a plant-based treaty. For climate change, we use that reason first. And then then we say about health and also the horrible effects on the climate of using animal agriculture. So I hope that everybody will also join the plant-based treaty. It's just the plantbasedtreaty.org. Just wanted to say that too. Have you heard of that, Dr. Clapper?
Yeah, I
Have you?
signed it. I'm proudly
Oh,
signed the plant-based treaty. Absolutely. Well, as soon as I saw it, I was in Toronto and I was speaking there and I saw it. I went right up to the table and signed big letters like John Hancock on the Declaration of Independence. I signed my name
They
there.
have like over 44 government representatives, elected people signed. They have like, oh no, that's 1,000 people there, and 44 governments have already
Mhm.
signed it.
No,
City
That's
of
it's so
Los
amazing.
Angeles.
important. Get that
Yeah,
awareness
so,
out there. It's so important. Get it
yeah,
into the government's heads. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
because we have to get this cruelty done with. We have to
Uh,
get this
uh,
planet in order, and we
it's a
have to
Right.
get human bodies healthy with the truth instead of these lies that we're fed.
it's a
We're
blight on our
lying.
species. It's a blight on our
Yes.
species, what we're doing to the animals. We'll be remembered badly for that, say
It's
Yeah.
the least.
terrible. Yes. I want to, gosh, y'all, I'm going to give y'all the last word. So I just want to thank everyone for coming here and joining our session today. And remember, our founding heroes are the pillars that keep these series alive and more for online events, training resources, and everything. And if you feel inspired, go to thevegancommunity.com to check it out. And we're working together to build this together. We need each other. Each one of you has a beautiful gift to give. And never think that you're not making a difference. So, showing up here is making a difference and learning. So, I want to hand it over to you all for your final thoughts.
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Linda and Marquita. Thank you for arranging this important conference and for everybody who invested their time. I hope it was worthwhile for you. And the truth of dairy should be evident to everybody. And if you've got it in your fridge, get rid of it. You don't need it. Go to the supermarket, get some of these plant-based alternatives. Get dairy out of your life and all the cruelty that spawns and supports. And you'll be happier and healthier for it, and the animals will be fewer tears in the dairy barns because of that. So clear out the dairy and we'll all be happier, including the cows.
Thank you so much, Dr. Klepper. I just love this whole presentation you gave. I think you've enlightened a lot of people about a lot of issues here. I know that I wouldn't be alive today if I hadn't taken out my dairy. I was on death's door, and it was mostly from dairy. So I would have been dead 37 and a half years ago. Thank you. I'm here. And because I don't eat dairy. That's one of the main reasons, guys. So please, if you have it in your house, I know it's hard because it's addictive, but it only takes about 21 days and then you can get rid of it too. And I can coach you, by the way, if you need help. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I wish we had more time for more questions, but we just don't have that much time. So thank you again, Mariquita and the vegan community for hosting us because you are vital for getting the message out. Thank you so much for your work. I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am.
Thank you all. And yes, this recording will be available for everyone. Thank you so much.
Mhm.